Thank you, Spirit Sound. It's delightful. Well, welcome to the Valentine's Day service. And let me just start out by saying, the series of talks that we get from the home office is bullet points and information, and half of my talk will be about what they sent, and the other half will be my reflection on what they sent. So this is my disclaimer. So, Sacred Sexuality. Sacred Sexuality. The February theme is All the Colors of Love, and this week is Sacred Sexuality. God knows no skin color, for God is all the colors of love. God has no gender, has no sexual orientation, no political party, for God is all color, genderless, and has no sexual orientation, for it is all, in all, as all. For God is all things. Giving love, receiving love, and making love are all spiritual acts that can be gateways to the experience of God, for God is love. So I've never given a talk like this before. And I may never give one again, so this may be the one time. So let's talk about making love a little bit, and the embrace that this aspect of the human divine experience represents. Sex is a sacred part of our human experience between two consenting people, or however you decide that looks, but it has to be consensual, and consensual with yourself. The suggested Science of Mind viewpoint is pleasure is a primary quality of oneness of spirit that should be embraced in all of its forms. Pleasure is a practice of mindfulness as well as an action of creation. It is a tool to tap into our potential as an individualized expression of spirit. What is pleasure, and why do we think of it as possibly taboo? Well, first we have to identify the S-I-N, sin, which is taught in some cultures. And in this particular teaching, I teach it as self-induced nonsense, S-I-N. And what sin is an archery term, meaning that you have missed the mark. So if you were to pull your arrow out and to try to hit the bullseye, and it didn't hit the very red in the middle, it would be a sin. You missed the mark. So do we just then walk away from the target and say, well, that was that? No, you, as a good science of minder, you think again. You shoot again. And you maybe do some prayer about it. Maybe you steady your hand and steady your breath, your breathing. The definition of pleasure is a feeling of happy satisfaction and enjoyment. Our society has an unhealthy relationship with the idea of pleasure, causing us to both repress our natural pleasure and to seek it out, causing feelings of shame and guilt instead of staying in that cycle. We can free ourselves through allowing ourselves to feel pleasure and not feel the guilt of it, heaviness of it. And what I'd like to do is take the sexuality out of the talk and talk about the power of the ability to love at depth. Because truly that's what it's about. It's about expressing yourself in love. Sexual energy is our life force creative energy. Since we know that everything has an aspect of God and spirit, we know that we are part of God and our bodies are a part of God. If the body is perfect, in the way it is, then its ability to feel pleasure and desire to enjoy pleasure as part of God is part of God too. It's part of our experience. And this can be in any aspect of our life. In moderation. Moderation is the key. If you love to shop, moderation is the key. If you love to drive fast, moderation is the key. Whatever it is that gives you pleasure, moderation is the key, right? That's why dessert's this little tiny sliver of cheesecake. Directing that at Sherry because she makes the best cheesecake in the world. But you don't eat the whole cheesecake. There have been times, I'm sure. But we don't normally have a full cheesecake after every meal, right? We save a little bit. And I like to have dessert first so that I don't have to worry about saving room. This is just a little thing I do. Pleasure is a spiritual practice. We can embrace our pleasure as an everyday practice of mindfulness, creation, happiness, fulfillment, and gratitude. Pleasure can be experienced every day through activities like enjoying a delicious meal, having a deep conversation with a friend, taking a walk in nature, engaging in consensual and joyous sexual activity with a partner or ourselves, or anything else that makes us feel good. In moderation. Pleasure is always experienced in the present moment or by seeking out and engaging with pleasurable activities. We are practicing mindfulness in this. Mindfulness. Our bodies have nerve endings for a reason, so that we can feel and enjoy life. It is there for our experience of the divine as who and what we are. God has imparted our life to us, placing no limitation or condition that would restrict us other than this. Our life must be lived constructively, in unity and love and sympathy with everything around us, if we expect to live it to the fullest. I believe that every person is born to be creative and to live the fullest and to be happy and glad and prosperous and whole. That's Ernest Holmes, page 365, Science and Mind textbook. This is from Regina Thomas Shasher. Pleasure gives you clarity. It refreshes and rejuvenates you. It keeps you ahead of the curve. Pleasure sends you on wonderful journeys, and you always arrive at your destination ahead of schedule. And Tom Hiddleston says, "What's my guilty pleasure? The thing is, I never feel guilty about pleasure."
Here, here. Here, here.
Okay, so that's what was planned for the talk from the home office. Okay, so those are the bullet points I needed to cover. Okay, so for your advanced students, and I know you're out there, you know who you are. I want to speak about the idea of sacred sexuality beyond the sexuality experience. Are you open to that? You okay with that? We can all be adults about this. All right, Hugh, settle down. Intimacy. For me, the metaphysical broken down word for intimacy is into-me-see. Into-me-see. Are you willing to open yourself up in a way that allows you to risk your worst and be your best? To expose yourself to yourself. This isn't about particularly another partner. That will happen if you can do it with yourself. What I mean is, can you be honest with yourself? Can you be in touch with the spirit of wholeness that you truly are? Intimacy. Into me see the truth of who you are. That is where we take the whole sexual equation out of it and we put the real stuff in. Because as beings, sex is only for this plane of existence. Because we're physical beings. It doesn't exist in other places. They do exchanges of energy, which is much more powerful, if you think about it. I want to speak about an idea to you advanced thinkers about the ability to fantasize. Again, we're not talking necessarily about sexual fantasy, but that tends to be a key for people to get into this thinking. When we do spiritual mind treatment, we are asked to see the demonstration as already done. For some reason, it's very easy for us to do that in fantasy. If we can use that same power of creation that allows us to have that bodily experience in our treatments, think how powerful your treatments can be when that energy is used for prayer. Again, we're taking out the whole sexual energy of this as far as the material body goes. We're talking about the energy that you formulate in your consciousness when you believe that you can be, do, or have anything that you choose, a healing, a connection to someone spiritually, to yourself spiritually. When you make that connection in prayer, think, this is what tantric energy is all about. It's not sexual, although it encompasses that energy. It's about being powerful with your mind. Think how powerful it can be using the same love in our treatment work. Just putting that out there. Because as I worked on this week, that's what came up for me. Is if we can use that same powerful energy that we love so deeply to share our lives with other people and attract those things, can you see that as happening in your treatment work? Just putting it out there. So in conclusion, embrace pleasure in all areas of your life. Notice if there are any areas that you have shielded away from feeling pleasure or have felt shame or guilt around it because of your experience of pleasure. And if you find that you have guilt or shame around something, let it go. Maybe you want to sit with it for a second, maybe even have a little cry about it to release it. Release the need to feel guilt for experiencing pleasure, because that just takes away from your full expression of God, that you have come to this plane of existence or spirit or whatever you want to call the divine for you in that experience. Seek out and engage in everyday activities that make you feel happiness, joy, and pleasure, knowing that by doing so, you are practicing mindfulness and co-creation with spiritual energy. Embrace your desire to feel pleasure today. And so it is. Okay, let's follow our teaching and remember that power that we are talking about, that loves each one of us so much that it has gifted each one of us with the biggest gift that can ever be given to another being, which is the gift of life itself. For life springs from the love of self and the ability to manifest in this world of form, to have free choice on how we experience that, and to do it in a way that makes sense, is respectful, and beautiful. For I know that there is a power that each one of us is. So I invite you to bring to the forefront of your consciousness what you're working on right now. And can you fantasize it as completed? Can you move that same energy of true love into the demonstration of it already being complete, and bask in the energy of that beauty, of that love, and of the power of your being able to demonstrate that power? You are a powerful creator. As we move into that energy and to dance in that world of love, healing is happening. Revealing of the truth is happening. And truly loving yourself is the gateway to understanding the spiritual energy of the universe. So as we move into that field of all opportunity, beyond right and wrong, or good and bad, or light and dark, there is peace. There is wholeness, and there is true love. So we give great thanks right now, as our hearts overflow with the love of the universe, washing over us in a way that allow us to stand in the light of true love. How good it is to know that healing is always happening. Truth is always ongoing, and love is at the center of everything we are. So we give great thanks as we release this word gently into that living, loving law of the universe, where the transformation has already occurred, where the love of the universe is already enjoying itself, because it is already done. It has never been undone. So we let go, and we let God be God in our life, as the power of creation exists in all things, as we affirm it together by saying, and so it is. Okay, come on back.